launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys blasting off with Denise Duncan, the head of program management at Unfinished Labs. Very happy to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Happy to be here. Very cool.
Very nice to meet you. I got to see you on stage in Buenos Aires. I was really impressed with what you had to say there.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us real quick about what your role at Unfinished Labs entails?
Well, my job there is to kind of just help our team get to our end goals, right? Which primarily is the delivery of DSNP, the delivery of our new blockchain frequency, and also making sure that we do it in a way that comports to the principles and the values that we hold. Our goal is to change social networking, right?
Right.
And there's problems there that are all around power. People capturing and holding power. And we want to make sure that we don't repeat that. And we think that one key way that we don't repeat that is to make sure that we include people who are not technologists.
Right.
Different expertise, different knowledge, different backgrounds, different experiences.
Are you a technologist?
Yeah. I've been building tech since I was maybe 10, honestly. Right?
Crazy. So what got you interested in social networks?
I think, okay, I'm going to take it back a little bit.
Take it back.
So when I started in tech, after college, I started building websites pretty much as soon as you could do that as a living, right? In 96, 97.
Wow.
And part of the reason that I was attracted to the web is because I thought it was a place where people would be able to express themselves. And, it was like, we are publishing, everybody's going to be able to publish and share. And what happened, right? We enabled the Googles of the world to come into existence, Yeah, so, it's about eliminating those concentrations of power and redistributing it out to people just like we wanted to from the start, So
Totally. Yeah, it was a different spirit back then and such a letdown that we've ended up where we are now.
It really, I really miss those early days because people just experimented and there was a point in time where every website you went to is a brochure for a company, but back then it was people were making art. So they were creating new ways of interacting or just presenting, and I really feel we've got the opportunity to go back there. When you look at musicians and NFT artists and stuff,
sure.
They're doing those experiments, and it's exciting to see where it's going to take us. Mm-hmm.
So if you work at Project Liberty, turns out, and we kind of have these unstoppable social networks, and people can express themselves again without maybe censorship or without being coerced, without their knowledge into certain ideas. What do you think that world looks like?
You know what? I think what I hope it looks like is people finding their authentic, supportive communities. Web2, you can say people found community, right? But the atmosphere, right, that started in was kind of contaminated. I don't want to be that dark, right?
Do it. Yeah, it is dark though.
But it's if you're in a space where you're already being manipulated, right?
Yeah.
Then are the connections that you're forming, what are they about, right?
Right.
So I think Web3, or the future that we're building, right? Maybe lifts that, opens up this space into something that's less toxic, more open, more authentic, and then the connections built there are going to be of that same caliber, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think that's the future that I want to see.
Yeah. A lot of the censorship and manipulation behind the scenes, it's done under the guise of fighting the baddies, right?
Yeah.
We're dismantling, groups that are accused of misinformation or organizing for maybe malicious purposes. How do you sit with a future where kind of that's all open and it's more difficult to censor.
I mean, I think that's like one of the challenges and genuinely one of the things that we struggle with, right? Because
Sure.
we're making a protocol. All kinds of nasty, mean people could decide that it's the right thing to build on. And I'm sure that's going to happen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we can't control it.
Right.
But I think what we can do is set the right example, right? Like, at least I think that's where we start, right? And that's kind of where like Project Liberty comes into it, and like I was saying, like involving like these different viewpoints and perspectives, like that might also open up, new ideas on how we control this.
Gotcha.
But it's, I think that's the greatest challenge here, right? Like we're working with Georgetown Ethics Lab, and one of the stories or analogies they brought to us was like, we were talking about decentralization and what it means, right? Which is hard to answer. We got to the point where we decided decentralization for us is about decentralizing power itself, right?
Right.
But they told us this, gave us this analogy that really helped us start thinking about why we needed to think about it that way. And it's like, okay, you've got a river, and if the power is centralized, maybe there's a lord who controls the river, and he, sets the taxes for what it costs to cross, and he's going to build a bridge or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's decentralized, and instead of that one lord, there's just like people, mob along the side of the river, right? That is controlling it. So depending on who you interact with, maybe you get to cross, maybe you don't, right?
Sure.
Is that better?
I don't know. Is it better?
So like that's, I think there's situations where you can say concretely, no, it's not. And other situations where you can say, yeah. So like one of the things we've got to figure out is maybe the framework, right? The parameters of what's the best case example of using these tools and promote those.
Yeah. And
acknowledge what's the worst case example and figure out how, we can't stop it, but we can de-incentivize it, right?
So, gotcha. Okay, so the DSNP, Decentralized Social Networking Protocol, that's going to be deployed for the first time on Frequency.
Yeah, the first, so we had like a test version out on Ethereum.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first like production version, that's going to be on Frequency.
Cool.
Yep.
And what's that look like for users and people who are in Polkadot, people who you're gonna maybe bring in?
Our goal is to get the chain, enter an auction, and get a chain launch this year.
Wow. Straight to Polkadot.
Right, straight to Polkadot.
Yep.
That's the plan. We made an announcement recently that we have MeWe choosing to adopt DSNP. So that will be the first example of DSNP. They'll be the first example of DSNP using Frequency.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Braxton spilled the beans to us on that too.
Yeah.
So that is crazy.
It's exciting stuff.
Was that part of your doing, bringing on that project?
How do you mean? What do you mean?
Were you involved in the process of onboarding and
communicating? Absolutely. My team. So I've got like 2 other program managers on my team, rock stars helping us get MeWe on board, helping the blockchain team get the plans together for getting Frequency chain live. If anybody wants to follow what we're doing, we're doing it all in public. Our project plan is out on GitHub, so you can see where we are.
Cool.
And this is the fun part of building tech, right?
Uh-huh.
When you get it across the line, you get it into people's hands, and you see what ideas or the theories either in action or you see them destroyed, right?
Right.
You can't predict, and it's going to be just super exciting to see what happens, like where people take this tool, because that's the next step. We're putting it out in the world, and now we got to see how people use it and how it changes what it is and how we continue to evolve.
You guys hoping like smaller developers, maybe individuals or small teams build on the protocol?
100%. That's a huge part of how we're successful,
Uh-huh.
So So we want to get, these bigger platforms on because that helps build up that social layer, right?
Yeah.
But once that social layer is built, you have the opportunity for the smaller developers to build on top of that, right? And they don't have the challenges that exist now of building out their own networks. They'll exist in this global network, right? So the opportunities, the apps that will be developed, they'll obviously be different than the ones available today because of the constraints that exist today.
Yeah.
So I'm incredibly excited, and we are definitely encouraging, that level of developer to get involved with us. The way we see it is, once we get our chain established, we'll start offering out tools to help adoption, to make it easier to, index the content, index the users, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So, so those smaller apps can develop, and we'll see what use cases come out of those.
Radical. Yeah.
It is radical.
It is radical. Absolutely. Do you guys have a grants program or anything like that?
I can't say it's. We will. We don't have anything established yet, but we. Yeah.
It sounds super exciting. I gotta say also though, it sounds like a bit of a long road. I mean, being able to index this social network and making it accessible to developers, like there's maybe a big gap between now and then, or what do you think?
I don't think so necessarily, because we've actually been thinking about that aspect of things from the beginning, right?
Oh, okay.
So the way that, and I got to hand it to Braxton and Harry and the designers. From the start, they've thought of this as an ecosystem. So it's not just about creating the protocol. Right? We always knew we had to first create the protocol and the blockchain, that infrastructure layer of things to lay down.
Yeah.
And then we had to create the services to be used on top of that.
Right.
And then the applications have to be built on top, right? So in-house, we've got that full stack created, right?
Amazing, yeah.
It's just a matter of productizing it all and getting it out to the world. So I don't think there's a big gap because it's been a part of our plan all along to get there. I'm new to the Polkadot ecosystem, and it's I guess not at all what I was expecting in some ways. It's really decentralized, right?
What do you mean? Like everybody's spread out
Everybody's
everywhere?
spread out, but I think, so one of the things that after going to Decoded, right?
Oh, yeah.
The thing that I started to recognize is oh, wait, so, there's Parity, there's Polkadot, but then there's the chains. So we gotta know all of these. We gotta know all of these chains, right?
Yeah.
And then I was wow, there's ambassadors and there's content creators. We gotta know all of these folks too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not what I was expecting, So and in that way, it's super, super decentralized. We're not just going to Parity and saying hook us up with these folks, right?
That's right.
So that's going to be an interesting part of how we get this launched out and how we learn how to launch it out, right?
That's right. Yeah, we'll have the Kusama community interacting with your 20 million WeMeet people, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
right?
no, exactly.
So cool. Well, Denise, super nice talking to you. Thanks for taking the time. I know it's a really busy conference here, but just super glad to hear that you guys are doing so well, and can't wait to see what happens for the end of the year.
Thank you, and really nice to meet you, Jay. It's been really cool.
Awesome. Talk to you soon, okay?